And that's why when I talk to founders and they reach out to me and they say, I really want to start a business, I'm like, wrong. I really want to be a founder and raise capital. Terrible, terrible idea. And I say to them, you will know when the time is right, when all you can do is eat and sleep and breathe and dream of the problem. And it haunts you day after day, week after week, for me, year after year. And at that point, you know, come hell or high water, you're going to figure it out.
Welcome to another episode of Outsider Inc. I'm your host, Ian Hathaway. Today's guest is Melodie Baan, retail entrepreneur, tech founder, and CEO of Max Retail, a platform helping thousands of independent retailers efficiently turn unsold inventory into new revenue. Melodie's path defies the usual script. She skipped college to start her career early, diving headfirst into real estate in her teens. When the housing market crashed, she lost everything. But instead of playing it safe, she hit the road, loading a Sprinter van with designer clothes and driving 36 weeks a year, selling to boutiques across the country as a distributor on the go. That experience and the dream of starting a family eventually led her to settle in South Florida and open up her own retail shop, where she came face to face with the crushing financial weight of unsold inventory. In the back room of that store, while raising 2 kids during the COVID pandemic, Melodie launched what would later become Max Retail. She started by brokering small inventory swaps between retailers, but quickly realized she was solving a much bigger systemic problem. After 4 attempts, she finally got into Techstars, one of the many steps that helped her scale Max Retail into a venture-backed platform now serving over 2,000 retailers across all 50 states, with more than $20 million in venture capital raised from investors like Nosara Capital, Rethink Impact, the Artemis Fund, and M13. Melodie's story is about perseverance, customer obsession, and building from lived experience. I'm excited to talk with her about betting on yourself, breaking into tech on her own terms, and refusing to take no for an answer. Melodie, thank you so much for dropping by.
I think we could just drop a mic right there.
Well, it's good to see you. It's been a minute, but I'm thrilled to have you here. This is a show about outsiders, entrepreneurs who don't necessarily fit the mold of what we're often told that founders of high-flying tech startups are supposed to be. You've more than earned that label, and your story to me is one about resilience, possibility, and making the most of every situation. I want to start with one of those early moments where you clearly zigged while others zagged. You made the decision to forego college and start your career early. You said that your mother was always supportive of you and that she was not really worried about you because she knew you were going to be okay, that you were a natural born leader. That's not a typical reaction. What gave you the confidence to make that call so early? And what do you think she saw in you that made her believe that you could pull it all off?
Well, I would say that it is not something I would recommend to my children to do. So off the bat, I think that there is a lot to be said for college, not just what you learn, but who you meet and just the ability to grow up. But I grew up pretty fast to begin with, Ian. I moved out of my house when I was 16 years old, living on my own, paying rent, going to high school, still managing to work 2 jobs, do track yearbooks. So I've always kind of been built on this really high momentum pace. That's just been my way of being. So I think in some ways I've just kind of been built this way to do hard things and carry more than a normal person might bear. And so by the time I was 18, graduating high school, my sister had already been in college 6 years, hadn't made up her mind what she was going to do. And I thought to myself, I don't think I could make it 1 year, nevertheless 4 years, nevertheless 6 years. I just don't want to do this. And so it was a really hard thing to tell my mom because everybody did go to college. And even in my high school class, they wouldn't even say, like, you're not going to college. They would say undecided when you walked across the stage. That's how taboo this was. Now, when I reflect back on something that's been a constant theme in my life, it has always been setting a goal and not even knowing I was doing it, reverse engineering my way to the outcome. So I would say if I want to make this much money a month, for instance, real estate, that was easy. 2 days and you get your license. That's all it takes to get a real estate license in Florida. But I knew if I wanted to make X amount a year, I needed to sell this many houses at this price. To sell this many houses at this price, I needed X amount of leads. And so I found my way to success in real estate just by breaking it down. And yet, what I hated about real estate was that you would sell someone something and then they had the house. That was it. There was no sustained relationship. And I didn't like that. Although I was a great salesperson, I loved relationship building. And so I just didn't feel like it was right for me. And everything really came crashing down in 2007. And I ended up having a bankruptcy and all the houses that I had acquired with that money that I had earned. And I was completely insolvent by the time I was 21. And so, I can imagine as my mother, by the time most of the other students are graduating college, her daughter is moving into a bedroom in a rental house with no dollars to her name and no assets. Now, let's be honest, most college kids also have about the same. They just don't have the bankruptcy. I had learned a lot, but I think the gift that I was given that many never receive is realizing that it's okay to fail. And you don't die of failure, Ian. And so by 21, I had already thought I gained so much and lost so much, and it was fine. And that just really built me from there on out to keep trying. And it's funny because if you look at my personality assessment from the predictive index, it says undaunted by failure.
It's very on brand from what I know about you. You tied together kind of these early experiences. Your mother didn't have that typical reaction. Was part of that her example and her encouragement about being independent, having a sense of responsibility? Or do you think this was just something that was innate in you from the beginning, or maybe a little bit of both?
It's who she is, for sure. Even sometimes I'll call her these days and I'll say, Mom, it's just so hard. And her response is just, Mel, you do what you gotta do. No pity, no sympathy. When I was a young child and I said, Mom, can you drive me to my friend's house? No, I can't, but go figure it out. You can go. I'm just not going to bring you. So I learned how to take the bus if I wanted to go somewhere. Mom, can I go on that ski trip? Sure. Go wash a bunch of cars, go write a bunch of letters, go knock on a bunch of doors. There was never a no. It was always go figure it out.
Which is really what being an entrepreneur is all about. Setting those goals, finding your way to that conclusion, and just figuring it out. You hinted at it before. You skipped college, went into real estate. Things were booming. The crash hits, you lose everything. But you've talked about these silver linings. You learned a lot. And you've also talked before about that experience being freeing for you. Maybe you were chasing the wrong things. What do you mean by that? How does someone say a bankruptcy was maybe the greatest thing or the most freeing thing that ever happened to me?
A gift I was given around the age of 27 was this: you are already more valuable right now than anything you will ever do or accomplish. And if you can receive that as a founder, you need to know your self-worth and you need to know who you are outside of what you build. But you also need such a deep-rooted passion for the problem you solve that nothing will veer you off course. And for me, it was not just working through my 20s to say, what drives me? Who am I? What is my value? I'm Melodie. I have a hat that is a founder. I have a hat that is a mother. I have a hat that is a wife, a hat that is a friend. But take off all the hats. I am me. Okay? And no one can take that away from me. And that is the first thing you need to win at this game. Because you got to be able to take your hats off and be you. Every day at some point. You can't keep the hats on all the time. It is not sustainable. And you are not a hat. You are a person. But the second thing is you need a reason to stay on course. And that's why when I talk to founders and they reach out to me and they say, I really want to start a business, I'm like, wrong. I really want to be a founder and raise capital. Terrible, terrible idea. And I say to them, you will know when the time is right when all you can do is eat and sleep and breathe and dream of the problem. And it haunts you day after day, week after week, for me, year after year. And at that point, come hell or high water, you're going to figure it out. So you have to know who you are and know why it's so important for you to solve it, for you to have enough of the endurance and wherewithal to see through the mission.
This is really important. I want to double click on this for a second. This is the third consecutive episode where we've talked about aspects of identity, personal identity being wrapped up in the business, where you simultaneously have to hold space for having an obsession with solving a problem in the world, but not letting that consume who you are as a person. Why do you think that is such a challenge for people to separate those things? And what are some practical tips that founders who are maybe their identity is being too closely attached to the business?
I think the first way is, how can you check yourself? How can you pulse check? Hey, how far am I into my business versus being a person? And I think you can look at your circle of friends on your day-to-day and throughout your week. How many of your friends are not work related? How many people do you talk to about other things besides your business? Now, yes, during workday, believe me, I don't talk to my husband or children from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. because there's no place for my family in the workplace. And there's no place for my work at home. And I believe that when you surround yourself with people who don't care what you do, they don't even know what you do, maybe, you're going to talk about different things. You're going to have other experiences, and it's going to allow you to pull yourself out of where you are. Now, yes, there's going to be other people you confide in that you can talk about work, things that you don't talk about with the people at work. But there's different buckets. You need a bucket of people who don't care what you do at all. And I have that. Every Friday night, we have a thing called Pizza Friday at my house. My husband makes homemade pizza. We've been doing this for 5 years, and it's an open door policy. You never know who's going to walk in on a Friday night at my house. And no one cares about what I've just done from 9 to 7, Monday through Friday. And it is every Friday night that I am validated, that I am Melodie, that I am loved and supported outside of what I build or what I don't build, because no one cares.
I love that. Very clear boundaries, having rituals to separate that. One of the things we did on my house is Friday night digital Sabbaths, where we're just focused on being a family. And I think environmental things are a factor too. I remember when I first got married, we moved from San Francisco to London, and we went from going to dinner parties or house parties and every person was in tech to no one being in tech but us. And it was like this really nice feeling where we thought, wow, people don't really care about what we do or understand it. And so I can resonate with all of that. Shifting back to your journey after the real estate crash, and as you're pulling yourself out of that situation, you didn't go and get a safe salaried desk job. You started another company.
I think I ruled it out, Ian.
Yeah.
When you don't go to college, you rule out going and getting a normal job. You know, you're kind of like, okay, like this is where I am. And most companies don't want to hire someone without a degree, if we're being honest. Not like real jobs, if you're going to call them real jobs. But I'll tell you what I found out very quickly. If you pitch yourself as a company, no one asks where you went to college. So what I learned is you don't apply for a job as an employee. You are a company that pitches services. A company, people only care what you can do.
Even if it's a company of one. That's a very good insight. Now we're moving into designer clothes.
That's right.
It's you.
That's
it's
right.
you, your company.
My company, quotations. Let's put those flying quotations out there. I got these business cards made. And they said designer boutique clothes showroom. And I took these business cards to the local art institute where there were graduate designers with nothing to lose. And I said, I'm Melodie from DBC Showroom. I will place your brand into stores for a commission. And they said, well, I'm not in any stores today, and she's only going to charge me if she does something. So sure. So they gave me the samples, and I did not know what I was doing, Ian, but I knew I could pick up the phone. And so I just started calling. Oh, it's Melodie calling from such and such. And they'd say, what are the price points? I'd say, let me call you back. Hang up, go look up what a price point was. Made the next call. Melodie calling from so-and-so. Price points are $69 to $129 wholesale. They'd say, what are the deliveries? And I'd say, I'll call you back. And I learned this industry one phone call at a time, one mistake at a time.
This also leads to you jumping in a Sprinter van.
That's right.
And schlepping clothes around the country, selling into boutiques. This is like a remarkable transformation from real estate to picking up the phone to now driving around the country and knocking on doors. Tell us about that entire experience.
It was absolutely wonderful. 14-hour days on the road. And before you'd ever hit the road, you had to call and schedule these appointments so that you had enough booked so that you could cover your hotel, cover your gas, and make sure you're making enough money for this all to be worthwhile. I was selling products that retailers had not heard of, and I'm asking them to take a financial risk to buy it and try it out. Now you can imagine how much easier it is to sell Max Retail, which helps them sell what they can't sell and get their money back. It's like a cakewalk. But as I was doing this, I didn't have anything to compare myself to, Ian. All I knew was what I believed excellence to be. And so as I was selling to a retailer, giving them customer service, helping them with their buys, and if something wasn't selling, I was creatively helping them exchange with other retailers. Everything that I was doing, I had no idea. But I was going above and beyond what all their other reps were doing simply because I had no comparison. And I didn't even realize how great I was as a rep until I became a retailer and I actually started interacting with other reps. And I was like, oh my God, these people are terrible. Like, they are not motivated. They don't care. And it actually wasn't until about 6 or 7 years later that I realized that's why they kept buying from me. That's why they would take my call and see me, because my standard was so much higher.
I feel like this is now the second time where I'm seeing first principles thinking, just figuring it out, finding problems, solving them, rather than looking at what other people are doing first. I know this is a term that's thrown around a lot in the startup world, but I feel like there is a lot of consensus thinking rather than genuine first principles thinking. Do you feel like that is the right way to attack problems? It seems like that served you well.
I still do that today, Ian. The processes that we have here at Max Retail, more often than not, I will walk into a room and, as I put it, I wipe everything off the table and I start fresh. And I say, stop knowing what you know, because obviously something about it doesn't work. So I am not going to put Band-Aids all the way down. I am not going to try to constant improvement my way out of this one. I am going to start fresh with a clear mind. And I'm going to start by asking questions. And I learned that from my co-founder, Damon, who's an engineer. The early years when we were first building, our first marketplace, Swap Retail, I'd be on the phone with him and he would be thinking out loud. And he always thought in questions. And I have learned to never think in a statement. And when I interview top-level executives, they always think in questions. So I wipe the table clear and I start by saying, what is the problem we're solving? Who are we serving? What have they said? What have they communicated? And I just start asking questions and filling in answers. And eventually, a couple hypotheses come together. Not an answer, never an answer, but enough of a list that I can then run down and say, will one of these 5 things work? And when they don't, that didn't work. Next, because it wasn't a fixed decision ever.
Speaking of fixed decisions, after 5 years on the road of figuring it out and having a blast with these 14-hour work days, you made a big life shift, right? You wanted to get married, start a family, and the lifestyle you were living just did not compute with that. So you moved home, you opened your own retail store. What was that transition like from calling on boutiques around the country to actually running one yourself?
It was extremely hard. Oftentimes, I felt like I was trapped in a box. But where I found my groove was in community, being a part of the junior league, so that I was part of a community of young women who wanted to grow and give. being a part of the local foster care organization Place of Hope, which was making meaningful impact into the lives of a third of our county's youth. And I was able to take my Store Blessed boutique and plug into these and give. And we grew my boutique through community. And when you take care of the community takes care of you. And that was how I built a very successful retail business and got out of my funk of, hey, this is a little more boring than being in a different city every day. And that worked for about 4 years. But every time I looked at my sale rack, I knew that someone out there wanted those goods and they just couldn't reach them into my store and grab it. And it just drove me nuts. So finally in 2016, pregnant with my first child, I said, I have got to try to solve this.
And so you did. Tell us a little bit about that. It's the merging of these two experiences, knowing the landscape of inventory and boutiques around the country to now facing a problem that maybe you were feeling more acutely or personally because this was your problem now. Connecting these dots is a step in itself, but then deciding to do something about it is another thing entirely. So tell us how you went from this spark from, I've got this problem, I know other people do, to I should do something about it. And here's the steps I'm about to take.
So I knew the problem existed because when I was a rep, the retailers would always point out what didn't sell. So I knew it was their problem. But it wasn't until I had my own sale rack that I understood it wasn't $2,000 of sitting dresses. It was $100,000 a year of financial losses. And that really hit home. The first step that I took in solving this problem was calling back the retailers that I had serviced. And I said, hey, it's Mel, your favorite rep. What have you been doing about your unsold inventory? And they all said, nothing. Nothing, Mel. I keep it on my sale rack and I just keep marking it down. And in 7 years, nothing had changed in store. But what had changed is point of sales were moving to cloud-based. Jour and New Order had brought our retail industry online, getting retailers comfortable with doing digital transactions. Shopify had moved retailers to having online storefronts, and consumers were more comfortable purchasing online. So nothing had changed with the unsold inventory problem, but the infrastructure and behaviors associated with the retailers and with consumers had moved forward. And it's interesting because I have one advisor who says to me, Mel, be careful that you don't plant your seed in the desert because the rain might not come fast enough. And when I look at my journey and when I first identified this problem and how long it's been haunting me, and when I became a retailer and how many years I felt it, and even how long I bootstrapped it before I ever took venture capital, the timing was right. It couldn't have gone faster because the world wasn't ready sooner. And somehow I found myself right where I should be in the spring of 2020, launching what was Swap Retail when the entire country was now closed due to a pandemic and everyone became acutely aware of their unsold inventory.
So you are launching Swap Retail out of the back room of your shop?
Yep.
In the middle of a pandemic?
That's right. Two kids under 3. Yep.
Piece of cake. You were on to something, but maybe the focus was a little off, right? You had this vision about, oh, well, people are going to be tracking inventories in real time. We're going to swap inventory, but didn't quite work out like that. Tell us about kind of the early stumbles and how it eventually evolved from a peer-to-peer marketplace to what Max Retail ultimately became.
So I loved the idea of retailers being able to sell, buy, and swap inventory with one another. Now, if you really do right by our industry, you have to protect brand distribution. What people most of the time don't know is that a retailer pays a significant amount of money to be able to carry a brand and have no one else have it within a 10-mile radius. So in order to make Swap Retail a safe place for retailers to transact, it had a lot of rules about who could get inventory, and it was not built in a way that could easily scale. We needed to partner with brands. Brands needed to tell us who was authorized to sell their products. The retailers then would need to be proactive enough to list their products when they weren't selling. But these were all the things that I thought was going to make the business safe for the industry and successful for the retailers. And the year of 2020, we called over 600 brands. 15 of them said, I see what you're doing. It makes sense to me. Yes, here's my retailer list. Go help them. 585 brands said, I don't care about my retailers. I only care about my own inventory. Can you help me with my inventory? We hadn't built a platform for brands to sell inventory. I, as a previous rep, knew how hard it is to sell brand inventory to a retailer that's a current account, nevertheless a prospect. Since our audience on this show is founders, one of the most important things you're going to have to do is bend. Know where you need to bend on your idea, and also know where not to bend. And that is the hardest judgments calls that you will make as a founder. And I'm speaking of this because I had really amazing advisors say to me, Mel, you got to get past this brand thing. If you're waiting for the brands to partner with you, you're going to be waiting till the cows come home. How else can you move forward? And I had to look at that and say, you know what? The retailers are saying to me, why can I only list these 5 or 10 brands on your platform? Why can't I list all my brands on your platform? So I was hearing it from my advisors, and I was hearing it from my primary customer, the independent retailer. So I said, I'm going to leave space for more here than what I think. And I let retailers list whatever they wanted to on our platform. And we did see more transactions between the retailers, but it still wasn't enough. So then I had to go back to the drawing board of, okay, the what that we're trying to provide is liquidity for independent retailers. We want to help them get money back for their unsold inventory because they keep saying to us, I don't want to swap. I don't want to buy. I just need to sell. My brands are waiting for payment. My brands have more deliveries to send me. Just help me sell my inventory. So once again, okay, Mel, swap retail is not what they truly want. They want money. All right. Well, that was kind of funny because here we are calling, hey, it's Melodie calling from Swap Retail, but you don't have to swap. I was like, this name ain't gonna stick.
Is that kind of like the main insight, is that you thought you were solving a problem of they want to get rid of unsold inventory, but you were maybe over engineering where that inventory should go. Really, they just want it the hell out of there.
Yes.
And they want some money for it.
Yes. I will say that my utopia was inventory optimization at the highest level, where it never gets marked down in store, where it can make it to the right destination to be sold at full price. But the truth is that wasn't possible then. And maybe I can get there in 10 years, but it's still a long ways away today.
You've talked about prioritizing what the customer wanted, not necessarily what you thought they wanted, elements of growth. You're also evolving at this point. In the early days, it's just you and a spreadsheet at best, and a phone and a Rolodex. But as you know, building a tech company, building a scalable company, it's not the same thing as building a bigger version of a small company. It's an entirely different thing. You have this vision of software is at the heart of this. I need to build something that scales nationwide. What were kind of those early inklings for you about, okay, I'm potentially building something really big and I need to think differently. I need to learn about different things and I need to pull in different types of people?
So I have 2 co-founders. I have Damon, who's my technical co-founder. Damon is an engineer. He's never wanted to be CTO. He knows who he is. And we've always had, as we grew, amazing technical leaders come in and let Damon continue to do what he loves to do. Morgan, my other co-founder, she's an executive recruiter by trade. And I can tell you at this stage now that is a superpower. In early years, Morgan wore every hat that needed to be worn. She wore a finance hat. She didn't know finance, right? She wore like a data entry hat. She wore every hat that needed to be put on, right? Before she could really get to her center of genius, which is where she is today with hiring, recruiting, and managing HR. She is absolutely top notch. And I can tell you, if any of you get lucky enough to have an executive recruiter who will hang in there for the early years, you will never be so grateful. But to answer your question, Techstars helped with that learning curve a lot, Ian, because what I knew was that I could grow a business. What I knew is I had the grit and the wherewithal to figure out a problem. But what I did not know was metrics. What I did not know is org charts, because I'd never worked for a company. I never went to business school, and Techstars was my boot camp.
That is, of course, where we met in early 2022 at Techstars LA. I was doing Mentor Madness. I remember telling an investor friend of mine, I know nothing about retail tech, but this person is amazing. So I definitely remember those early days of meeting you. But tell me a little bit about like why you decided, hey, I should go do this accelerator thing. It should be Techstars. It should be in LA, that whole process. And then ultimately what you got out of it.
My husband had been a fan of Techstars already for at least 5 years. I think he might have even applied with one of his startups.
Okay.
So we knew what Techstars was, and I applied many times and got shut down. When I first started Swap Retail, I applied. They didn't accept me. Believe me, I applied even to like the Minnesota one. I was willing to go to Minnesota in winter if they would have me. Thankfully, they didn't have me. So Matt, the managing director at Techstars LA, got to know me and said, sorry, Mel, I just don't see it. I said, that's okay. Let's just talk every month. And then I continued to call him. And that's something that I've been really consistent at. And most founders don't do that. So if you are a founder and you want to say, how can I stand out? Very few people follow up. Very few people say they're going to do what they're going to do. And even if they do it, even fewer of them go back and tell the people that they did it. And I would just go back to Matt month after month. And I would just say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's how I'm thinking. And I raised a pre-seed round before I ever entered Techstars. And I think Matt was like, geez, if that girl can raise 2.45 million, not knowing anything about anything, what could she do if we poured into her? And I think he saw how bad I wanted it and that I wasn't going to let him down. And I told him that, and came in the program ready to learn, putting in the time, packed my whole family up, husband, kids, in the Prius, drove to California, Airbnb'd our house, got a little apartment, and the whole family was in it to win it. And that's what it takes too. So if you're a founder, the single most important decision you will make will be your life partner. They got to be all for it. If they're only a little for it, you ain't going to have everything you want. You're not going to have the fulfilling life that you desire. If I look at my fellow founders who have achieved great success, they rave about the person they married. And Ian, I'm sure you know what this is like.
Thankfully, I do. I definitely want to dig into family, community, partnership, something we like to talk about here. But I want to just reaffirm something you said for founders who are listening, which is investors like to invest in lines, not dots. And what I mean is the ability to track something over time. It's not just tech risk we're evaluating. It's not just market risk that we're evaluating. It's execution risk. Who is this person? I don't know what they've done. I don't know what they can do. And to just validate another thing of what you said is how many founders I've said, I'm not quite there yet. Can we please catch up in a quarter, offering mentorship, right? I come from that Techstars DNA where it's a genuine offer. And almost no one takes me up on that offer. That's an easy win. You can't control outcomes, but you can control what you're doing. And so it's what got you into Techstars. It ultimately led to the next phases for you, which was raising a seed round from M13, a premier fund based in LA. You would later go on to raise a $15 million Series A round from Nosara. So here you are from building this scrappy spreadsheet business out of the back of your retail shop to moving the family across the country for Techstars LA to raising over 20 million in venture capital. Tell us how you did it.
Every day I pray for favor and wisdom. That is my secret. Because at the end of the day, I might not have the wisdom, but it doesn't mean it can't be gifted to me. And it doesn't mean that I can't go find it. And no one should ever underestimate the power of praying for favor. The amount of incredible people who give me their time, who allow me to ask them questions, and who have guided me on this path is why Max Retail exists. There is just a stirring in you when you're just focused on doing the right thing every day, having the awareness when you're doing the wrong thing. And I find that Max Retail grows more from me identifying things I'm doing wrong than knowing what to do that's right. It's going to sound terrible, but at Max Retail, we call it bed shitting. And so every day in the organization, when we find we're doing something wrong, we point to it and we go, that's bed shitting. And we're going to stop doing that. It's these moments that are so exciting, Ian, because the second we know it's wrong, great, we can change it. We can improve it, right? And along this journey, it's like I'm getting this education as I go, but my professors are my advisors and my investors. And I am counting on them, and I bring them on the journey with me. And when I find bed shitting, oftentimes I tell them, hey, this is not working right, but I am aware of it. And a lot of people are not comfortable doing that with their investors, Ian. They're not comfortable saying, hey, like this hire is not the right person anymore, but I know it and I need to figure out what this looks like for the next chapter. And you know what the investor will say? Let me know if you need my help. Right? But it's scary because you could be like, what if they think I'm not this? What if they think I'm not that? Well, once again, if you know who you are and you're separate from your business, you can be transparent. Transparent must be your favorite color. And I joke that I treat my investors like they're my priest half the time. And I tell them everything that I am aware that we are working through, because then, Ian, when I solve it, when I fix it, when I finish it, they have deeper conviction in who I am and what we can do. So you almost rob your investors of learning how you think and how you work through problems and building greater trust in you when you don't tell them what's going wrong. And then it's accountability to fix it. But most of the time, the investors know something's wrong. You just ain't fessing up to it.
So you've built trust through vulnerability, through transparency, through including all of your stakeholders throughout the process. What is it about that water's edge moment where you have to jump into that abyss of the fear around not being those things? There's bed shitting happening, but I'm too afraid. What happens if they fire me or if they're mad at me? So you've broken through that. Maybe you haven't done it perfectly every time. Maybe you have. But what can help people push through and do that at that critical juncture? What would you say to people who are kind of at that water's edge moment right now and maybe need a push to break through?
I think it starts a little more upstream. As founders, especially the earlier you are on, you're so hyper-focused on getting capital that maybe you might just be willing to take a check. You just want it so bad that you'll take the money. You gotta know who you're getting in bed with. When I hear horror stories, it's because people did not do their diligence on who they were partnering with the capital they received. And I have been extremely blessed here, Ian. I love everyone on my cap table, and I have the ability to feel comfortable being transparent. And I go to some of the biggest name funds, go to their offices in New York, go to their offices in San Francisco. I sit with them, and my investors got to think I'm crazy because they'll call me after and say, hey, how'd it go? There was no chemistry. It's a non-starter for me. So for me, Ian, I look at someone and I am ranking them before I ever am willing to go and talk about money. How long do I know them? Ian, I would take money from you any day of the week, right? Because there's enough of a relationship here and trust here, and I know what you stand on to say, I would call you with good news or bad news. And that is step one. If it is the right investor for you, the diligence process is like flow. You know what I mean, Ian? Like you're going back and forth and like the conversation's just really interesting. And then you move to the term sheet and you're negotiating the terms. And even that is a thought partnership. It's not at odds. When it's the right fit, it feels right. And you're collaborating. So you can often know if you're making the right choice or the wrong choice through diligence and a term sheet negotiation. But be careful who you take money from is the moral of my story.
Or who you partner with or get married to or whatever, right? All of these, all of these important life decisions. So I know you want to spread the credit around, but I'm not going to let you off the hook that easily. You are definitely the driving force behind the company.
I know that as well, because when you and I talk about transparency and I tell my investors all the bed shitting and I tell them what I'm fixing, I know they're not going to throw me out of the seat because I know I'm the right person for the job. I can share with them. I'm not afraid of that because I know that I've continued to grow with this company and I will be who it needs me to be wherever we are.
Well, wherever you are seems to be everywhere. You're serving over 2,000 retailers today in all 50 US states. You're moving inventory across a network that touches more than 400 million online consumers. Clearly a success. What are the things that you're getting right? What are you excited about? What's the future hold?
Our go-to-market is really working well right now. And that is the product of a year of dissecting, tearing it apart, putting it back together. So it feels really good to have focused the efforts and be producing the results. Our leadership is incredible and the talent that we've recruited is amazing. And I think for us, the focus is creating a sustainable future for our customers, our company, and our employees. And that is the word that I probably meditate on more than anything is sustainable growth, sustainable future. As a founder, you drowned from opportunity and just knowing where the focus needs to be and that discipline. I'm past the point of idea, what's the idea? I'm past that. And what this company needs right now is laser focus and execution.
Very well said. A big part of focus and execution is a complete and whole person. It's the support around us. You mentioned earlier your supportive husband, Jan. It sounds like there's separation from work and family and friendships on the one hand, but really it's also hard to untangle that, right? Because it is a big part of your life and you do have a support structure, a family structure that wants you to be a complete and whole person. And so how have you been able to build a successful, fast-growing company in the midst of managing demands of a family, of maintaining yourself as an individual and having young children?
Well, I would say my co-founder, Morgan, is a big source of inspiration for me. I love her balance. And she's always been one to love a good routine. And we joke that, she's Morgan, I'm Melodie, we're Melgan together. I now have routine. She now talks into her phone instead of texting. That's how we're blending together. Atomic Habits is a great book. How can you remove the need to make decisions as much as possible by creating just consistency in who you are? So for me, it's waking up at a certain time, making my coffee, putting on that 3-minute song and hopping in a cold plunge. Like knowing, okay, I'm going to get in my zone. I'm going to put on my hype song. I'm going to do something I don't want to do just to remind myself that I'm willing to. I don't do it for the health benefits. I do it for the mental fortitude. Wake up and do something I don't like every day. Another great book, Win the Day by Mark Batterson. Great book about doing what you don't want to do first. And then just being consistent with a routine. Okay, now I get my kids ready for school. I don't check my phone. I don't do anything work related until I'm going to work. As I mentioned, there's no room for work in my home because my children get such little time with me, if I'm going to be honest, Ian.
Yeah.
They get 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Monday through Friday. And so I will give them that hour before they get on the bus. And then mama's going to the gym. I am going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to Orange Theory. I'm going to compete. I'm going to whoop someone's ass that I don't know. I have no idea who they are, but I will be the winner on the leaderboard, and I will give myself more evidence that I will win today. And then I will go to work. But I've already done multiple things for myself, for my family, and then I go to work and I crush it. I don't think about anything all day on the home front, right? Come home at 7, I'm with my family. We have dinner. We do bedtime routine. We are just all in with one another. There's a really important saying. Your children will only remember you when they woke up, you when you came home from work, and you when you put them to bed. Just nail those 3 moments a day. Don't save your scraps for your family. Come home and have something for them. And you know what? Even if you got to fake it, that's fine. You only got to fake it for an hour and a half. All right? But give it to them.
I love that. I feel like children are less bothered by you not being there than they are with you being there, but not really being there.
For sure.
You know, when the day, getting the hard stuff out of the way first, just getting it behind you. We had Brad Feld on a couple episodes ago. He wrote a book with his wife called Startup Life. But it was basically they had to create some structure and some rules for engagement because Brad would be distracted or on to the other thing. And the big picture was, you say I'm the most important thing to you, but your actions do not convey that. And so they created a system around engagement in the household. And so I always recommend that to founders as well. I guess last big question for you, what is it about your story that you hope could influence somebody or inspire them to take that first step into building the company of their dreams?
I find that your testimony is normally more powerful where you've failed than where you've succeeded. No one needs to hear another success story. And a success story is only a good one if it is wrought with trial and failure. So if my story can allow someone else to confidently fail and keep going, I will have done my purpose. And if that person can be brave enough to share their failure with another and create more of a ripple in this life to inspire someone else to do the same, we'll all have done well.
That's a beautiful thought and a great note to end on. But before we break, we like to end with a segment that we call Beyond the Bio. These are just some quick hit questions that let us step away from the resume a little bit and get to dig into more about what makes you, you.
All right.
So what's a quick piece of advice from a mentor that stuck with you throughout your journey?
Ooh, I would say run the process. Don't let the process run you. Anna Barber.
That's a good one. Who is an unsung hero in your life and what has been the impact they've had on you?
My girlfriend, Deanna, because she is such a good wife and such a sweet mother, and she reminds me to be gentle.
Yay, Deanna. Who's someone in your local startup community or maybe in your broader network who doesn't get enough credit and deserves a shout out?
Ooh, gosh, there's so many. I'm really rooting for this girl, Harriet Noya. She's building a startup right now in London. And what she's doing is brand excess inventory to college students. And I think that that's really cool, solving the excess inventory problem overseas.
Tell us something most people don't know about you, something outside of work. Could be a hobby, a favorite travel spot, a guilty pleasure, or maybe even a hidden talent.
Oh, I love karaoke.
Well, that's a good segue to our next question. I'll maybe ask it a different way now. What are one or two songs you'd like to add to our Spotify Founders playlist Normally, I would say something that fuels your workday or has inspired you as an entrepreneur. But in this case, it could also be one of your favorite karaoke songs to sing.
I'll give you two. My Shot from Hamilton and Astronaut in the Ocean.
I love it. Amazing. Okay, last question. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who's about to start their first company today, particularly someone who's maybe a bit of an outsider, what would it be?
It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. Early on. The later it gets, it shouldn't be that hard. But early on, it should really consume you night and day, all the time, require sacrifice. It should be something that you love enough to not drive a nice car, something that you love enough to not live in the fancy house, something you love enough to shed everything that comes with the American ego to get.
Wow. That's an awesome way to end. Melodie, thank you so much for being here, sharing your story and your wisdom. It's so great to see you.
Thanks for having me. Good luck, everyone.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Outsider Inc. A big thanks to Melodie Vanderbaan for sharing her story, one built on lived experience, bold choices, and a refusal to be defined by limits. What stands out to me most is how she succeeded by betting on herself, solving real problems, and thinking from first principles. Her advice, to know who you are beyond business, protect your focus, and be radically transparent, is a powerful counter to today's cultural obsession with highlight reels. Melodie reminds us that the messy middle, the hard days, and even the failures can be what shapes us most. Being an outsider isn't a setback, it's an edge, if you're willing to work, live your values, and keep showing up. If you want more from Outsider Inc., don't forget to subscribe to the platform at outsiderinc.substack.com. It's packed with highlights from today's episode and bonus insights you won't want to miss. You can follow Outsider Inc. on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Outsider Inc. Pod. You can also follow me on X at Ian Hathaway. Outsider Inc. is produced by Spellbinder Media. We'll be back soon with another fascinating outsider conversation. Until then, thank you so much for listening, and remember, great entrepreneurs can come from anywhere. See you next time.